So we'll get started with our Fireside chat. Just for people that are not familiar with this, Widen, a marketing technology company out of Madison, we do Fireside chats every month or so, and we do it to help our employees understand the problems that marketers and creative teams are having. And we do it so that they can be exposed to those directly from the personas of our customers. So we've done several already. Last one we did was with Gregory at Widen. So this is our first Fireside chat without a fake fire and and away from Widen. So and this is also our first Fireside chat that we've got a panel of marketing people instead of just having a one-on-one chat. So and the venue of 100state. Special thanks to Andrew. Special thanks to Gregory and Megan for helping us get this coordinated. So we've got some 100state members here as well as Widen employees. So special thanks to everybody from 100state for making this happen. And the fabulous, beautiful panelists that we have. Special thanks to you. And we're going to get to know them a little bit by having each of them give an intro. And then after the intro, we're going to dive into some of the marketing and creative problems that they experience. So let's start right here. How about brief introduction? Taylar, you can start, and then we'll go down the line. Introduction, 3 to 4 minutes. Tell us about your background. Tell us about your perspectives.
Okay. Is it still morning? Is it morning?
Technically.
Okay.
Yes, it's morning.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Taylar Barrington. I just relocated to Madison last July, so I've barely been here a year. I'm from the South, and the snow wasn't that bad, so I'm really happy about that. I have 2 companies that I run solely by myself. One is a visual marketing company where I do graphic design, branding, identity, web work for an array of clients, from nonprofits to startups, entrepreneurs, government work, the whole board. The second company I have is a collegiate lifestyle empowerment brand called Maverick, and I'm the creative director. I do all the marketing for that company as well. My undergraduate degree is in graphic communications. I have a little journalism in my background, and I would definitely say that on a day-to-day basis, I pretty much live marketing, breathe marketing, for myself, for my companies, for my clients, and yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Rachel, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Karanen. I am a writer. That's my specialty niche in all of the marketing aspects I do. I do a lot of copywriting for tech companies, ranging from companies of 2 people all the way up to companies of 200 people. I work with clients who either don't have any marketing at all and need somebody just to write the copy, write their automated marketing emails, write their blog posts, or companies who have a full team but want to bring in a contract writer who specializes in tech and really understands the perspective of software developers and UX designers, because I've spent a lot of time immersed in that world. Examples of things that I would do is right now I'm working on an automated email marketing campaign using MailChimp as the service for a client. And she already had the bare bones of it, but I've helped her flesh out the emails and also look at ways to integrate social media into the email marketing so that when people read the emails, they can easily start sharing it on Twitter, start sharing it on Facebook, invite their friends to join the events. So really kind of consulting with her to help her maximize the impact of her email marketing. I also am a contributing writer for the Minneapolis-St. Paul Business Journal, which keeps me really connected in the larger business community in Minneapolis, which is where I'm from. And I'm currently working on a book on how to eat well on an entrepreneur's budget, and I am building the marketing site for that and developing my own marketing campaign to make that book a success and to really start creating resources that help people who have, a bootstrapped life, whether they're a contractor, freelancer, startup founder, live better within their resources so they can really use those resources to build their own company.
Great.
One thing I'd say, I guess, is that as a reporter, by training, I really always focus on the story. Stories are really important. You have to figure out who the audience is, what they care about, and why the company or the product is unique. And I have a really great time putting that all together to help tell a story that really connects and resonates with the audience. And that's how I strive to be effective.
Excellent. Thank you. Matt.
Hard to follow you too. My name is Matt Nelson. I've been freelancing for about 7 years now. My prior life was in direct selling, where I did really well and kind of had a 6-month product cycle. So every 6 months throughout my adult life, I've launched something new and kind of been on something new. So freelancing actually works really well for me. I love kind of getting into new industries and figuring out what completely new businesses are doing. So I do kind of a full comprehensive marketing plans and then build them, implement them, and then teach my clients how to use them. So that usually starts with the website, moves on to social, email marketing, which is huge. And I do a lot of my focus is on SEO. So my main freelancing gig and agency is called Madtown SEO. That's search engine optimization, getting to the top of Google. It's a very strange industry, but very much kind of in high demand. And it's getting at the top of Google is the most effective thing you can do as a marketer, hands down. Anybody that has like a website or a business at the top of Google can tell you having the phone ring and just having business come in constantly every week is amazing, especially as a freelancer. My other kind of newer project is a company called Grow Madison, and really it's kind of the result of about a year ago, the guy that introduced me to 100state, James Lloyd, he invited me down to go do a WordPress boot camp at Beloit College. So basically just go down and work with some college kids, talk about WordPress, help them build some websites. And we had a blast. It was a lot of fun. As soon as we moved into this space from our old space, which is a lot smaller, I saw it, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, WordPress boot camps, I want 20 bodies in here and teach people how to do WordPress. And so we did a couple, and they went really well. People really liked them. They were fun for us, and we had kind of been doing them for a very small fee, so we just kind of decided to make it a little bit more official. And so now Grow Madison is an actual LLC, and we're doing WordPress boot camps every quarter. We're also doing social media boot camps. It's going to be our first one. It's in about 3 weeks. I'm working with Greg on that, working with JJ, a few other 100-staters. And our goal as Grow Madison is to basically have boot camps and workshops led by local experts talking about your projects. So kind of the model is we want people to bring in their work. We'll tee up some training and some things on how to do stuff, but then we want to dig in with you and actually work on your project. And that's kind of an education model that's really not happening right now. Really, we're looking for the people that are all of a sudden, hey, I got hired I talked to somebody at Goodwill recently, and she was telling me she got hired as a writer, and now she's in charge of the website. She doesn't know how to do website stuff, so she's like kind of our ideal person. All of a sudden, she's in this job, maybe it's social media. I'm now in charge of this. How do I do it? What do I do? Who do I learn from? Going to MATC is maybe not the best option. So where can you get some advice from professionals that are doing this every day? And so that's kind of where I'm at. So
Great.
I'm working with like 15 different clients and building websites and all that stuff on a regular basis too. So
Good. Thank you for sharing, all of you. So I'm going to go to Rachel's topic first, and we can all respond to it. But we'll let Rachel be the first to respond to the storytelling. You brought up the topic of storytelling. So what we'd like to pursue is what is your role in storytelling? Talk about the effectiveness of it, and then talk about some of the challenges that you've got to telling a great story.
Right. So I usually view myself as, taking the journalist seat when I'm sitting with a company and trying to figure out their story. So I start asking them questions. Why are they unique? What is their product, and what does it do to improve the lives of the people who use it? And when you first start asking those questions, you get a lot of idealism. And the idealism usually isn't quite the compelling story that you want, because everybody's like, oh my God, I make the best thing ever, and everyone needs it right now. And so it's really figuring out the exact niche that they're in and drilling down with more and more specific questions and asking the 5 whys. Why do they need it? Why do they have that condition, etc. And then the second part was, what challenges are there? And I think that there's a lot of companies who do very similar things. And a lot of times companies create a product or a service and they're just like, well, we're better than the other people. And that might work as a marketing message, we're just better than everyone else. But I think one of the challenges is figuring out how to present that in a way that's more than just like Adidas is better than Nike, but really show, what that uniqueness is.
Yeah. Can you expand on the 5 whys?
Yeah, so the 5 whys is the idea that you ask a question and somebody tells you an answer and you say why. And you just keep asking why 5 times. And by the time you've asked the 5th why, you're usually a lot closer to the real answer than the more general idealistic answer you got the first time. And so it can be frustrating to the person answering the questions, but it really helps you get to where you need to be.
Then for you, how are you bringing that story out into the market?
So once I've asked, my 5 whys and all the questions of the company, I kind of sit with it and toy with it a little bit, and then I start to place myself in the audience's or the customer's mindset, and I think about, what are the challenges of the customer, what are they looking for, and what words would make them jump out of their seat with happiness, and I start telling the story at that level. So, whether it's writing the web copy or writing the marketing emails, I'm just trying to figure out what are the most compelling 5 words I can start with that will get them to keep reading, because I think that's the biggest challenge.
Okay. Taylar, any comments on the storytelling? What the story looks like? How you tease out the story? Some challenges with telling a great story?
I think with my creative agency, I do a lot of visual storytelling. So while I'm not necessarily on the content side, I am on the visual side. And I do run into some of those same issues as I'm talking to a client who might offer the same service as another client, and on surface, it's nothing that really differentiates them that I can really pull out visually. So I have a lot of whys, and I even start with the questionnaire and then read through that and then ask additional questions. I even like to go into people's space and kind of see what characteristics stick out to me that I can transcend visually, because while content is very important, I think visuals play a very big role in pulling that all together. Some people are audio, some people are visual, and so I think they both work together to make a lasting impression.
Let's before we go to Matt with storytelling, let's structure the word content.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me what your interpretation of content is. You used that word a couple times yet, and then we'll come back to Rachel, because
to me, content is the meat of what represents your business or your company. That content could be visual content, it could be written content, multimedia. When I think of content, I do think of web a lot, and some written forms as well. But it's basically, how are you telling your story, and in what ways are you doing that, in my opinion.
Okay. Rachel, content?
Yeah, I would say it definitely encompasses more than just writing. I focus on writing because that's my training, but right now I'm working with an infographic. Someone else designed the infographic, but now my job is to add the words around it that make sense. So both of those are content, infographics, video, everything. But I definitely think of content as something that has something to say. So it's not just like a tweet about an event necessarily, but something that has that storytelling aspect in it.
Matt, why don't you start with your definition of content, then parlay that into storytelling?
Yeah, I don't have much to add. Those are great responses. I'd say just in terms of content, I really look at it as anything that I can share and use to get some leverage for the business. So whether that's a website, a multimedia piece, even just a really good post, even a brochure, anything, I kind of consider it all to be content. Really, the first point of all marketing is having good content that people are going to appreciate and read, whatever it may be. As far as the storytelling thing goes, I'm doing a lot of web design stuff. I try to tell the whole story on the homepage. Identifying their unique proposition, what's unique about their company, what they do beyond the competition. And it's interesting, having been freelancing, working with so many different industries, I'm able to pick and choose stuff from other industries that people just haven't even noticed. It's kind of like, wow, I never kind of thought about needing that on my website, or that concept or that approach. And I do questionnaires too. I think I'm going to add why to my questionnaires. I really like that, peeling the onion, getting down to the real, what their real why is, what their real cause is. My questionnaires, I never find they get down to the core level. So I'm going to have to try that too. So that's all I got.
Okay, good. Rachel, you brought up what I interpreted as looking at things from the customer perspective, getting out there and understanding. What other things are you doing to understand the customer's perspective better, to frame up the content, to structure those stories?
Right. So when I work with a company, I usually will start with a look at their different industries or their verticals and work with them to develop the characteristics and kind of personas of the average user, and then if possible I would like to speak with the average user, have some interaction with the people who are in their market, and kind of have some case studies or mock personas of the people who they're selling to or who they're serving. A lot of times right now it is that a company is selling products to other developers or other entrepreneurs, and I do understand those markets pretty well, but really getting a list of like what are their pain points, what are the things they do on a daily basis, what is their level of education, what are they educated in, what kind of words are like buzzwords with them, what words do they hate, like what words are overused, what is still a word that when they hear it they like perk up. I get all of those things in lists and start working from that perspective.
What's a 10-second rant of all the overused marketing words? Ready? Go.
Oh no, I'm terrible at on the spot goes, but anything that you see in like trending hashtags, I feel like I understand trending hashtags make things, appear in sidebars, but if you're using that in your web copy, you're going to be out of date in like a month. So
What's the most annoying thing about marketing, Taylor?
When people just don't think it through. I think your marketing has to be effective, and I think people get so caught up on pretty or this looks nice, but it's not effective. And I think I'll just leave it there.
Okay. Matt, how about you? Annoying things about marketing?
I think similar. It's just like having it not work, because it doesn't. You have to test. You have to market test. You have to come up with a concept and prove it works. And then beyond that, it's just businesses that don't believe in it, like it's the Easter Bunny or something. Like I'm not trying to, I'm not asking for $20,000 to throw at a TV commercial that might get you some new business. Like I actually have a plan. We can make some actual, predictions and some numbers and things, and go on with a real plan. It's real. It works. There's a reason businesses do it. I don't get why some people just don't believe in it.
So some people think that only half marketing spend works, and they just don't know which half, right? How do you make somebody believe that marketing works?
A proof of concept. Part of why I got into the search engine stuff is because I can look at keyword information and keyword data, and I can show them some numbers. I can say, okay, there's X number of searches per month on this term, which is what you've been using, but there's 10 times more for this other term. And I've actually often found, kind of across the board, companies are always focusing on their solutions. Here's what we do, here's the solution we provide, but that's not what people search for. People search for their problems. And helping companies get over that hump where it's like, yes, you do this, but that's not what people are looking for. They're looking for the solution. They're not looking for they're looking for the problem, not the solution. So that's. I'll leave it at that.
So you start there. How does that conversation flow then? You're trying to convince somebody that marketing is effective. And
I'll actually show them keyword research and keyword data saying, there's X number of searches on this term. I do organic search, so I'm not even asking them to put much into an ad budget. I'm asking them to put some time into me, beefing up their site, beefing up their content, beefing up their social, whatever has to be done to get them to rank better naturally, which is a better long-term investment. And I can generally show them the numbers and show them pretty much what's going to happen.
Sure.
And that seems to get a lot of people over that hump.
Okay. So how about effectiveness? You brought up the word effectiveness. How do you prove effectiveness?
Prove it. Whatever your purpose is for whatever marketing tactic you're using, is that purpose happening? So, for example, you're creating, I'm visual graphics, so I'm going to always go back to print. You're creating a flyer for an event, and nobody shows up. So, was it because your flyer wasn't saying the right message? Was it because maybe that wasn't the most effective route to use? Marketing is one of those things that you have to continue to test. The only way to approve it is to see if it's working. So you have to try something out. Did it work? Look back, make adjustments, try it again. It's just a working wheel, honestly.
What are you testing for, and how do you conduct that test? Anybody?
Yeah.
So I'm usually looking at engagement. I'm looking at site traffic. I'm looking at time on-site conversions and other metrics in Google Analytics, and in Facebook has the graphs of traffic, and Twitter as well. So I'm usually looking to see if I wrote a blog post that had this approach, did that blog post fare better than the ones that were more focused on the company? I think that's kind of thinking about what Matt was saying, that people often want to write about their product, but you actually have to write about people's pain points. And so, once I've done that, can I show them, wow, in writing about it from this angle, you got this many shares, you got this many, visits to your main page, etc. So I'm looking at a lot of those metrics, and that's how I can kind of show that what we're doing is headed in the right direction.
So you're comparing it to their historical performance, or you're bringing in other data from some other source that talks about industry averages or vertical market averages?
A lot of times it's their own historical performance, because a lot of the companies I work with are relatively new, and the things that they're interested in seeing isn't how are we comparing with our competitors, because their competitors might be already selling to enterprise clients and that might not be very useful, but really how did we compare after we brought you on to last month. And if we can have continual 25% growth, we're in a phenomenal place, or depending on what their growth goals are, working to achieve them.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just say in terms of effectiveness, I'm a little older school. I love the data and the being able to do an ad on Facebook or AdWords, and literally the next day you've got results in terms of your effectiveness, at least at a certain level. But phone calls at the end of the day is what you want. You want leads, you want sales, you want business. So that's really kind of the end of the day what I'm looking at is how many leads can I bring in.
Any of you use testing technology? Anything that helps you with your testing?
I don't right now, but a client that I'm currently working with, we're writing the web copy for their site, and then after we've finished the web copy, or after I finished it, then we'll start A/B testing. I think using Unbounce, it might be the way that we go.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about other technologies. So you've got all these things that you're trying to manage, you're trying to measure. What is some of your most reliable marketing technology look like to help you deliver that message or to measure your success?
I say for me it's WordPress, and a lot of open source technology like WordPress, where I can put a client, where they maybe were spending, who knows what on enterprise server technology or their own even just hand-built website, and plugging them into something that anybody in the office can use. It's got low upkeep. It's supported by really good developers, and then has all these other side open source platforms as well. It levels the playing field so quickly, and makes my job really easy.
Yeah. I think for me it would be like the analytics, the web analytics. For Maverick Hill, it's a e-commerce site, so there's a lot of shopping and things like that that happens on that site. So I can see where people are coming from, how many people translated into sales, and so whilst I do believe social media is effective, sometimes it's not always the most measurable. You are blasting out messages to people, but what really confirms that effectiveness to me is that the traffic that comes to the site where you're actually offering that product, and to see how many actually transformed into sales.
Okay.
So,
Rachel, anything technology stack?
I guess I use Google Analytics a lot for that kind of thing. I'm doing a lot with web copy and sales as well. The company needs to sell their service or product, so looking at the conversion rate and traffic on that page is kind of how I measure what I'm doing. I don't know if you're also asking though, what do I use to do my work?
Yeah.
Since I'm creating written content, I'm usually using Google Drive. It's really easy to create documents with the text that I wrote, share them, kind of have conversations back and forth in the comments, and from there they take it and plug it into their website or anything else that they're using to deliver content.
Okay. So you've talked about, I've heard two statements of looking at analytics to assess what's working because you're trying to drive sales, right? So
Yeah.
step us into that conversation. So in the trenches of this, you're monitoring specifically visitation, and you're saying if I have 10,000 visits and this is the conversion, this is the click path, this is the sales revenue. Do you have it to the place where you know exactly the ratio of visitors to sales dollars? Walk us through some of those conversations that you're having internally, whether it be in your own head or with your team, about the conversion process from analytics to sales and your interpretation of it?
So for my e-commerce platform, I use Shopify. And Shopify has an array of plugins that you can use. So one of the plugins I use almost creates a heat map. So I can take a look at, all right, these are how many visits I have, these are how many conversions I have. Oh my goodness, why am I not making more sales? So then I pull up this app and I can see where people are falling off, what message might not be conveyed effectively, or like where people are stopping. And I think that that's extremely helpful to have like that in-depth way of, like, I can literally, I don't do this to like stalk people, but I can literally play a visit to my site. So like I can see people click, how long they're sitting there, what they're reading, what they've stopped on, and like I literally mull through that daily and try to make adjustments to it so that I know that they're mulling over this blog post, so let me create more, or they like this product, so let me create similar ones. Or they clicked on this product 3 times, maybe I'm missing a size chart, so just little things like that help.
That's great. So when you're looking at those replays of those web visits,
Yeah.
Do you have something that's saying, all right, they went over 5 seconds, they've paused here for 5 seconds, so that means I should write more, or do you just kind of interpret it as you look case by case?
Well, I just try. I do this thing where I try to be my customer. So I'm like, I can see where they're coming from, like what city. So I'm like, okay, they're coming from Texas, so I'm a Texas girl. What is a Texas girl doing, and why is she clicking on this profile? And it does do it live time. So if she spent 10 seconds on this particular product, I'm literally sitting there for 10 seconds. So my eye is traveling for 10 seconds. What is she looking at? What might have stuck out to her, or I can see her mouse moving. And usually in habit, when you're reading, your mouse is kind of following along the words or sitting in the area where your eye is. So, that type of stuff is like extremely helpful. Yeah.
Good. Matt, anything
Yeah,
else?
looking at things like, cart abandonment is huge, I think, for e-commerce. If people are coming to your store, putting something in a shopping cart and then not ordering, like, that's one of the biggest things that I always look for, like, just right off the bat with a new e-commerce customer. And I've had several that have had, like, 50% cart abandonment, and it's like, what's going on here? Is it your shipping rates? Is it the process? Is it because you're going to a PayPal site off domain? So we got to look at, figure out exactly what's going on a lot of those analytic levels. Just identifying one issue can really just kind of open the gate and fix a lot of problems. And the same thing with social. I'm big on social, but if nobody's engaging, it's kind of just spam. If you've got 5 posts a day and nobody's liking, commenting, anything, you're just filling up a feed, and I don't see that as a good thing. So, definitely looking at in a WordPress, I always install, site stats and Google Analytics so that my clients log in to WordPress where they're going anyway, and they can see exactly what's happening. They can see, okay, we're getting 10% of our visits are coming from Facebook. Well, that's good because I'm running Facebook ads. Another 20% are coming from Google ads because that's good because I'm running Google ads. And then a whole other slew are either direct or coming from search. And, being able to figure out where they're coming from, that helps you figure out, where you need to go next, too. So.
Okay, good. Anything to add on those?
They pretty much are covering all the sort of metrics I look at, with Google Analytics being one of the major ones, looking at, if from the home page, do people go to the pricing page or do they click the try now links? But one of my favorite ways to have that internal conversation about, is it worth it, which I think is what your original question included. I love working with clients whose products are really expensive, because then it's really easy to say, well, if you get one sale because someone understood your product better, then it was worth it to work with me. And that's like the easiest conversation ever, because I can pretty much promise that you will get one customer from working with me, hopefully a lot more than that. But that's my favorite situation to be in, because it's really easy.
Yeah. Let's go to visual. Visual is trying to enhance marketing efforts, right? You're trying to increase conversions by creating visual photographs, videos, infographics, that kind of thing. So, what would you do? Could you attribute anything to making visual content relative to just written content? Is there an advantage to adding visual content in that marketing message, and you can attribute that to a certain conversion rate or a certain increase in revenue because you have visual representation?
Well, what the visuals do, sometimes the headline might not work, or sometimes the blurb might not work. But if you use a compelling image, some people connect visually. Everyone's not going to look at information the same. So, whereas you're going to get your butt kicked might not work, but a picture of somebody getting their butt kicked might. You're working the same way. You're saying the same message, and so you have to have seamless imagery to go along with your content. I mean, you absolutely do.
Sure.
Did I answer?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah, Rachel, when you're writing certain things, are you also advising on visual content to create, or creating visual content as well?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of times I will put a placeholder image and I'll say you need to find, something that looks like this but is relevant to your specific client. A lot like I was working with a company that produced products that local restaurants were using, and so we needed a picture of a local restaurant tour. So I found an appropriate model from Google Images that they, needed to replicate using their own actual client, and said, here's the size, here's what it's going to look like, here's how the words go around it. But you can either hire me to go take the photo, or we can pull someone else in to take care of that.
Yeah.
But I always look for how is this text going to fit in with graphics, because graphics create more engagement, they are effective, and it's definitely very important to consider how they play together.
Do you know how much more effective?
I don't know the precise statistics. Taylar might know better than I, but it's just kind of common sense in my mind.
No, I honestly don't know the number, but I'd imagine that content with visuals probably gets more clicks than content without.
Okay. Now, Matt, you're looking at keywords. So you're sitting down with a client, you're going into the keyword data. Are you also trying to help them interpret those keywords into some kind of visual representation of that?
I guess not really directly. That's kind of a strange question in terms of keywords. Definitely, keywords are a basis of everything that we're going to do moving forward. I like to give them a list of, all right, here's the 20 or so keywords and kind of catchphrases that you want to include in everything you're doing, whether it's YouTube videos, whether it's a blog post, whether it's a news item, something on social, all the way down to just naming your images. I don't let people, don't upload an image called img254.jpg
Oh, my
because
goodness.
nobody's gonna ever search for that. If you upload your image, hey, Matt Nelson, people might search for Matt Nelson. So so start, that's kind of basic keywordy stuff. And just in terms of the visuals, I spent the weekend looking for stock art. I mean, literally, for 3-4 clients, I was just collecting stock art all weekend for all these different projects. And it's a challenge, particularly finding something that's going to convert, but also something that the client likes, that you like, and getting all that organized. I know is something that you guys kind of do at Widen, and there's a lot of developers, designers that are you're starting to use a lot more stock art just because there's a lot of work to do.
I've
saves you a lot
through
of time.
that too, trying to find pictures that look like software developers versus other random people in front of computers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are using the same stock art, so it's starting to
Yeah.
become more challenging.
Yeah. I always encourage my clients to try to do original stock art. Like, don't go to Corbis or, stockphoto.com and pull the same images your competition is using. So,
Custom is definitely better, but for
Yeah.
some people that's not in the timeline or the budget.
Yeah.
So.
Or the industry, it's usually pretty easy to spot, at least as a web designer. Like flower shop, you get yourself a camera, or good. You got beautiful stuff to take pictures of all the time.
Yeah.
This weekend I'm searching for an engineering site. And they refuse to do bridges. Like, so how do you find that kind of thing? Makes it a lot more challenging in different industries. If it's really visual, it's easy. If it's not so visual, you got to really get creative.
Good. Widen, a lot of the times we always ask anybody in the audience if they've got questions throughout. So, anybody have any questions popping up right now they'd like to ask anyone here? Deanna?
Video content.
Video content. What about it?
How do you guys make use of it, and where do you see it going?
How do you make use of video content, and where do you see it going? For anyone.
Okay, that kind of just gave me chills because I love the idea of video content and marketing. Unfortunately, though, it is not my strong suit, and it's very difficult to find people that is their strong suit. I feel because it's new, but it's still very effective. There's a lot of demand for it, and so I struggle with it as somebody who needs it and who does it. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I do see it becoming a leader for sure.
Is it more effective than visuals and text, do you think, or?
Well, I think it is visuals and text. It's just emotion. I done photography as well, and that's the same way I view video as moving photography. I think it's just an advanced way of doing it. So I definitely think it is the most effective way, honestly, because it's very hard to get people to connect with you, but if you can make them feel like they're present in whatever time you're trying to show them, especially through video, it's a connection like you can't replace.
I know video is really important. I myself am a writer, of course, so I don't do videography, and I think that's a really important skill to have when approaching making a video. But what I will do is I will create the script, and I will kind of say, here's the frame, here's who's going to be in it, here's the story you're telling, because video is just another way to tell the story. So I'll say, here's the story, here's where it's going to be shot, here's the characters you need in it, and this is what it's going to do, but somebody else has to come in and take that video. And so I'll provide all of that, the script, the recommendations, the framing, but I myself am not going to make the video. So for some of my clients, that just means it's not going to happen because they're, a company of two people and they don't have the resources. But for some of the larger ones or people who just have videography skills themselves, they're like, great, I'll go make this. And I also am working for my own site, which of course I have to market my own services. I'm working on creating a video that introduces myself because I want to tell that story too. So people who are looking for writers, there's a ton of writers out there. And so really making that personal introduction is important. And I think great examples of videos that have been really successful are a lot of the like a Girl campaign and Shine Strong campaign that a lot of the major companies out there are putting on YouTube and getting amazing engagement and sharing based on people having those values in common. So I see that as very powerful.
I'll say YouTube's the second most popular search engine in the world. So, and literally, it's also Google. So literally, people are searching YouTube specifically for stuff. So the same stuff applies in terms of Google. It's how can we increase our rank for our videos, and it's not that hard to do. It's actually a lot easier than a website in a lot of cases. And I'm not a video guy. I'll never go search for a video on something. I'd rather read it. I'm a really fast reader, so I'd rather read it. But there are certain things I do a lot of the design work. And you guys probably done this too. Using Creative Suite, Adobe's products, it's got so many features, and sometimes you just don't know how to do something. YouTube is amazing for learning a 3-minute how to use clipping masks in Illustrator or something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, it is life changing how quickly. And so, how I think of that as a marketer is how can I make videos that are how-to type stuff that are going to bring people to my site, to my brand, to me. And in addition to that, as a search guy, the secret to SEO and getting to the top of Google is new and unique content on a regular basis that's important to your viewers. And with that being said, the more diverse that media is, the better. So, I usually describe SEO as like an arms race. Whoever has more better guns wins. And those guns are copy, if you're comparing two sites, and one has 300 words in an image, and the other has 600 words, 6 images, links to resources, a video, and maybe a podcast, which one would you rank better? So including video and all those other things, I think is huge and really important.
Let me ask before Annette chimes in with one. Let's go to that. There's a message of simplicity though. So you described what I'm visualizing as a very crowded space of lots of information and a very clean looking space. I think what you were trying to use it as an example of having somebody with much richer content versus somebody with much more simplistic content. Where's the marriage between simplicity and providing value?
If anybody can tell me, I would love to know.
Yeah.
And that's a challenge for me as an SEO guy. So I'm always going to go more copy, more content, more everything. But sometimes in the case of, say, a photographer, you really want to highlight your images. And so, you want a nice clean site that's not wordy, that just is showing your work. Yet, how do you also tell Google that I'm a photographer and have the language in there that is enough for them to search on? They can't look at images. They can't tell what's in an image. I don't know that balance. It's a tough balance. I think it's a case-by-case thing, and, sometimes you miss it.
Rachel, Taylor, anything to add on the simplicity balance with content horsepower?
Yeah, that's what I'm over here reflecting on. And somebody told me one day, you can either kiss it or kill it. Has anybody ever heard of that?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like you keep it short and sweet, or you keep it long and lengthy. And like, you got to kiss it, because people are busy. And like, them browsing your content is something they're doing in their leisure. Like, I don't have 8 hours in a day to go through CNN. But if they can give it to me quickly, and that means that there's a video and a 300-word write-up, and I've completely grasped the concept, that's just as effective as reading a chapter book on the same story. So it's kissing it is how skilled are you in being able to tell the story and get it out in a way that people can fully understand and not spend a maximum amount of time doing it. So
Yeah, well said. Rachel, anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, there's a famous writer who once said something along the lines of, if I had more time, I would have written you a shorter letter. It's really hard to be concise. My background, in addition to journalism, where you get told you have to tell a story in 400 words, and that's all. And if you don't, they will cut you off in the middle of your writing. It's also in technical writing, and that's another example of you have to keep it, short and simple, like Taylor's talking about. So I work very hard to make a few little words tell a powerful story. And then I balance that with, if the company has the resources to make a video, to use a video, some people are going to skip that video, so the words still have to tell the story. But some people are going to skip the words and click on the video. So everything has to function, I think, relatively on its own. And then looking for a few choice graphics. But for me, part of being a content creator is also being a content curator and saying, these are the pieces of content that are just creating chaos. White space is really important, especially, I think, in the mindset of, I guess at least the millennial generation, white space matters a lot. And if something looks cluttered, it looks so 90s. Yeah. And they're going to figure you're out of date and you're not relevant. So yeah. I think it's really important to even just, not thinking necessarily about the SEO in that point, but just like when people get to your site, do they just immediately turn away or do they engage?
As somebody who, I keep bringing up CNN because I'm always on there. Somebody who does that really well is CNN. Like, they split their content. So they could have put 5 articles in one, and you could read one long article, or you could read this article that talks about this specific event related to what's going on, and then there's a quick link that says, it kind of just draws you in, like, click that and read more. So technically it's one article, but they've split it up so it's digestible.
You end up going down the rabbit hole.
Huh?
And you end up going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, you do. I mean, technically but that's by choice. I mean, if I didn't want to read the second article, I don't have to click the link. But if I want that additional content, I just click on it and keep going. So that way I don't feel so obligated to have to read this long article and can read as much as I want. Right?
I was just going to say, one of the things I always encounter is actually less content than I like to see. I see a lot of 2-sentence blog posts. And I'm like, did you really make me click on this?
Well, I think that's where it's really important to understand what you're on. If you're on a homepage, you don't want big, huge paragraphs of text. If you're in a blog post, you understand what you're getting into, and you might expect paragraphs of text. So it's just really looking at what's the exact medium and delivery method.
And people understanding what a blog post means or what blogging is for.
Right.
Because that sounds like an image and a caption, not necessarily a blog post.
So are you using the channels to drive that? So you're using some teaser language because the 2-sentence thing is appropriate in certain things, because you're trying to get people to spend more time.
Right. Mm-hmm. So you can definitely use social media where you give the 2-sentence version or the 5-word version of the post, but then it leads to the content that actually provides value.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually dial it down. I specifically set what I want Google to show in my description. So, they'll generally just kind of scan your site and pick a sentence they think makes sense. I actually set it so when people's looking at Google result, it says exactly what I want them to say to bring me to the site. Not cutting off the sentence halfway or anything like that. Nice laser beam kind of excerpt.
Right.
Good. Annette, you had a question, and then one in the back. So.
It kind of started with video when we started chatting about video. it was the first time I heard the word emotion come up. So I want to talk a little about, and this might be a question you've had for the Matthew, but emotion and substance in your writing, and that coming across authentic with those pieces of having that substance of emotion authentic.
So how they're representing that emotion in video and how they make sure that that content is emulated as authentic?
We've talked all these, white space, tools and metrics. But with all that, the focus of it being authentic and carrying across the emotion, and you alluded to CNN, I would think they would be good at that, because if they don't capture your emotion right away, you're not going to click anymore. But if they capture your emotion right away, you're going to keep clicking in. So if you guys could talk about how you capture emotion in your content, and that's a strong driver in what you write.
For me, that is. So one of the things I always ask my clients, especially when I'm doing web copy and marketing emails or blogging, is what do you want people to feel after they read your content? And that differs for everyone. I mean, generally it's going to be something positive, but I work with one client who has a series of tech conferences that focus on diversity in tech and gaming. And she wants people who read her content to feel safe and comfortable and respected. And that's a really different thing from the people who, for the clients who are actually looking to inspire laughter, or who want their, their users to feel like, oh, this is the fun company from the Netherlands who's not afraid to make a weed joke every now and then, So, I mean, that's just two radically different styles of writing, and I'm creating two completely different emotions. And I just come back to, my background as a writer and think, what words do I use that convey safe, respected, trusted? Or what words do I use that convey, amusing, off-the-cuff, quirky European? And, I read the content, I write the content, take a break from it, come back, and see if I effectively made that emotion or not. I myself am obviously not making the videos, but that's very important to me in my writing. I always ask about it.
So you testing for that emotion then? When you step back and you say, are you really getting that emotion? How are you determining that?
I guess, I just try to give myself enough time that I kind of forgot what I wrote. That's a practice I think I've cultivated as a writer over the years, is just erase it from my mind, come back and read it with fresh eyes, a few hours later or a day later, and just see what is my reaction? Mm-hmm. If I am this person, it's a nice thing about being a writer is you have to be a great actor. You have to all of a sudden be this person who is really passionate about being included in the gaming world and feels kind of left out, and did this word really make me feel like I could trust that person? Do I want to go to their conference, and might I apply to be a speaker at it even? So it's very much just doing that process.
Good. Any others on the emotion?
I found just, I think I'm lucky. I can kind of pick and choose clients daily. If I believe in what my client's doing, I think what I'm doing is more authentic, so it comes through in the project. I just finished a project for an NGO. Corn, ethanol, whatever. I'm not that political. I didn't really have much stake in the game, but I found myself running that project, and I just didn't feel very authentic, to be honest. Just because I was kind of writing, it just felt a little fluffy and a little BS-y, and it was really not what I'm usually doing. I'm usually completely bought into what my clients are doing, and I want to convey their message in a way that I believe in authentically. They do, and that equates to the reader, but it doesn't always happen.
Sure.
Yeah, it's such a difficult art to master, in my opinion. Especially when it comes into, were you just talking about politics?
Well, no,
okay.
Definitely not.
Because sometimes, it's just why are you really telling me this? Are you telling me this because you're trying to gain my vote? Are you telling me this because you want to inspire me? And I think when it comes to emotion, it's something you just can't fake. People can read right through it. It's is this 100% your story? Is this authentic because you want to inspire me to be a better person? Are you doing this because you want to compel me to be underneath your finger? It's just, it's the art of being truthful. And I'm kind of on both sides of the fence, because technically I create this marketing, and then I have business where I see if it's effective. And for Maverick Hill, my audience is college women. So a lot of the content that we were writing about was inspirational content. So it was the content that wanted to inspire them to be the best possible person that they could be. But then what I realized was that's not, really what they wanted to read. So, so then I had to figure out how to inspire and connect with them at a different level. And there's ways to do that where you're not saying, I lost everything I had and I don't have anything anymore, but I came from this, versus saying, well, this is how to be thrifty with what you have, and it's saying the same message, just a different way, connecting on in different ways. So.
Good. Let's go one in the back and then two up here.
On the topic of video, take for example a manufacturer of a very unique piece of equipment trying to build a global brand. So they produced a promotional video, a 2-minute video that explains the product, tells the story, the brand heritage, all that. Is besides website and YouTube and sending it out to potential prospects, what's your suggestion on building a plan for what platforms to get the word out if you already have the content?
So platform specific content. So if you've already got a library of content, how are you determining what content goes in what channels? How do you know what channels to be effective with certain tactics, right? Translated? Channel stuff. What channel's right for what content? What have you found historically?
Yeah, I don't do a ton of video stuff, so I can't speak specifically to that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Are you talking about just content in general or video?
I guess just content in general. The specific example I'm working with is with they produced a 2-minute promotional video that tells the story. And besides, it's not a consumer product, so social media has to be selective. But besides putting it on the website and putting it on YouTube, are there any other key areas besides sending it to potential customers? It's just, how would you go about the strategy of how to get the word out using that content?
Yeah.
I think that I have two answers. If it weren't for the fact that it sounds like it's kind of an introduction to the product, in general, video I think does well on Facebook. People like to share videos that they connect with and that resonate with them, and the interface works for it. But given that it's more about the product and it's going to a very niche market or audience, I would be interested in seeing what you could do with blog experts in that industry. So if people see value in the video because it explains the solution that they really need, they might write about, like, check out this really cool new product, I'm really excited about it, it's going to solve my pain points, whatever, and get them excited. So hopefully you already have those connections in place with the leading bloggers in the industry. If not, develop it, and then just be like, I really appreciate the content you're putting out there. I have something your readership might be interested in if you would like to include it in your blog or link to it.
Yeah. Bloggers are always looking for new content, especially if it solves a problem for their audience. So guest blogging might also be a good idea for somebody who represents the company as well, for them to write articles and submit these articles to blogs that create or generate content for that area.
Okay,
I'll just say, if I had $1 for every $10,000 video that I saw that just failed completely, I'd be pretty well off. It's tough. I mean, it's tough to crack. It's tough to predict how effective they're going to be. And I getting creative in how you're using it, where you're using it. I'm not sure if you meant platforms versus like YouTube versus Vimeo, that kind of platform. But there's definitely like benefits for each. And with the video, you're always sharing it. I mean, if that's the core piece that describes the product, you're sharing it all the time, everywhere, really.
So how do you make it shareable? Does the channel empower it to be shareable?
Absolutely.
Content within it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, YouTube makes things very shareable, obviously. Very easy to embed.
Social
You
media.
can put it anywhere, as does Vimeo, I know. Vimeo is probably a little better for the higher quality video. YouTube would be more the mainstream stuff and also searchable.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I really don't know a whole lot about it. I will say, just interestingly, I have a client that I worked with last year who is kind of taking the next step into kind of video marketing, so to speak. He actually makes applications for the Oculus Rift and virtual reality. For example, he built the Sacramento's Kings Arena in virtual reality as a demo for the public so they can get public buy-in before a shovel hits the ground. He builds apartment condos for real estate developers who then set up a little shop with 3 virtual reality headsets and let people come walk around a virtual version of their condo and buy it before the shovel hits the ground. So that's kind of a unique way of doing something similar. A little bigger investment, but some companies are spending a ton on video, so it may not be. That's just something that kind of popped in my head when you mentioned that. So.
And I'm going to come back to the influencers and the blogger network that you talked about after this question right up front. Yes, sir.
So, as a graphic design firm ourselves, a specific issue that I run into is sometimes I'll have clients that, for example, they want a menu, and they say, oh, I just want a menu. And they don't think about the photography, they don't think about making sure there are menu items on board. How do you handle that? How do you build that value?
So when the client specifies what they want, is that what you're saying?
Well, they're looking for a menu and they're not thinking about the broad picture.
Okay. Okay.
And they want it for $50 and tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the struggle that everybody who has expertise in their field deals with. It's, you have to explain to somebody who vaguely understands what you know why it would be more effective to do it the effective way. It's like you go to the doctor and you say, oh, I got a boo-boo, and then you say, make it better. But then the doctor explains to you all these reasons why you have this boo-boo, and you're like, I don't really care. I just want you to make it feel better. So it's the same thing with, I need a menu. Well, this is what I just want a menu. So sometimes I have to almost do it for them, or kind of, I'll do like a simple version, then I'll say, well, this is what it would look like if we did it a little bit more my way. And then, I say, well, take this back to your team and, get some feedback. And then they come back and they say, oh, they really, we really like your idea better. So let's do it that way.
Well, Rachel, I could guess what question you would ask, right? What would it be? Why?
Why? Why do you want a menu?
Why do you want a menu?
Yeah. I mean, people are going to have their reasons, and then you can really start, instead of saying, like, no, what you want is wrong, say, talk about it at the motivation level, and, like, are they trying to save money? Do they think that their audience will appreciate something that's just a few simple options? And really figure out why they asked for the menu, and then show them the most effective way to meet those needs. And
that's a good point. I never thought about that.
Did that answer your question, sir?
That does.
Okay, good. Any other questions?
Yes, good question.
Yes, sir.
So it's kind of the same, you're sort of almost there. I come from an engineering background, and lots of times people will come to you with their solution and ask you to design their solution. And then when you design their solution, they'll get really mad at you because it doesn't work. They never actually brought to you their problem.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds similar to what, how do you convince one of your clients that they need to tell you about their problem, not what they think your solution is, because you have more domain knowledge than they do?
I just kind of have a standard practice of a kickoff meeting that includes some certain exercises that we go through that delve into the specifics of their product, their industry, their expertise, and through that then say, like, all right, and here's the plan, and here's what we're going to do together. And because they were involved in that kickoff meeting, a lot of times they feel like they really helped create what the new solution is going to be. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but I really do just say it. And they'll say, like, oh, but we already know what we want, so we don't need the kickoff meeting. And I just say, oh, but standard practice was working with me. If you already know what you want, it may go really fast, but we're going to do it, and we're going to see what we find.
And is this part of the content and how you originate the content to start with, which is you're trying to create content that is structured around these exercises, right? To walk them through the exercises so that they don't come to you with the solution, they come to you with the core problems. Is that what the content should be geared for to start with?
I'm not sure if you're asking what content I create to provoke those meetings or kickoff meetings, but I definitely have a list of standard questions that I send to them so they can start thinking them over in advance to prep them, to put them in that mindset of, like, all right, we're going to do these exercises and we're going to create these assets, which then they can have and they can keep after working with me, that help them understand a lot about what they're trying to do with their product and their market.
Okay.
Can you talk about those exercises a little bit?
Yeah, so I usually start with questions about, about their product, their market, who their competitors are, and really do the like strengths and weakness analysis and see what their threats and opportunities are. It's a pretty common exercise. It's called SWOT analysis. You can find templates online, and I've kind of modified them for the specific clients that I work with. And then I created my own for the market analysis, but just looking a set of standard questions that I have that delve into their market, their users, their needs, and kind of all the things I spoke about before regarding education level, buzzwords, pain points, etc. And usually it involves a whiteboard. I most often hold them here at 100state, and we, draw, take pictures, and then I upload them to a shared file.
Taylor, anything to add there?
No, I was thinking when you said you send them some questions, and we were talking about questionnaires earlier, and sometimes you realize, or they realize that they're not ready.
Yeah.
Like when you start sending the questions to them, they're like, oh wait, I haven't thought all of this out yet. And so sometimes you help them in that capacity, and they're not.
I worked myself out of a job last month because I was working with a company and they were really excited about their software, and we did the SWOT analysis and the market analysis, and we just were really working through it all, and then they were like, wow, we need to think about our product more. And I was like, that exercise was valuable, and I felt really good. Like, I asked the tough questions and I brought the outside perspective, but looks like we won't be marketing anything for a while.
Just on Ibrahim and Lachlan's comments, obviously I work with a lot of clients that think that they know what they want. I often encounter people like, yeah, I dabbled in web design 15 years ago, so here's how I want you to do it, and would you please make that menu with Comic Sans? And it's just, you get requests like that all the time, and this is probably exactly what you're talking about. It's just like, how do you deal with those clients that think that they know how to do your job when they just don't? I mean, they just don't. And, you can't put it that way. You can't say, look, just trust me. I mean, sometimes you can, but usually you can't. So, I kind of pad some language into things that I'm doing, to kind of set myself up for later, and I always kind of try to keep it in writing. I talk about the design, the kind of the path of design, how you make a design choice, and this is in any project, whether it's graphic or web or marketing, and you're kind of boxed into that choice 3 days later, where you can't go back and start from scratch once you've gone down this path of choices. So, and I use the context of that in WordPress. We have certain options. There's things I can do. There's things I can't do. There's things that I can figure out, but there's going to be a whole lot of things I can't figure out, and that are custom coding and are $5,000 to get solved. So just understand now that I won't be able to, take care of every request you have, but we'll have certain, we'll be able to do certain ones. So
being upfront about that is really important.
yeah, I try to pad my language ahead of time, even if they won't hear it, but you can at least cite back to it and say, yeah, well, remember when I said this,
I'll sometimes create a list of things I don't do, just that way people understand, like,
Oh, that's great.
I am completely honest. Here are the things I am awesome at. Here are the things that, like, I can pull in export resources to help me with, so that together you get a universal package. And here are just some things I promise you will never get from me and you cannot expect. And, like, we are just going to be on the same page starting out.
Yeah, follow up, Ibrahim?
Yeah. And sometimes I've had clients that you just have to do what they say, let it even go to completion.
And then don't put it in your portfolio.
Well, yeah. Well, and then you find that, and then they find out that you were right.
Well, I've also had clients that I walk away from. I mean, there was a client who wanted me to copy and paste from a enterprise level competitor, and I was horrified and said, I think I must have misheard you. You did not just say that, right? And I was befuddled. I couldn't believe that they were hiring a writer and paying my rate for me to copy and paste. And I said, that's illegal. That's really bad. We should never do that. Do you want to reconsider this suggestion? And at the end of the day, they did not want to reconsider. They wanted to copy and paste from their very large competitor. I gave them some advice on the legalities and the implications of that choice, and I was out.
So part of this is also positioning yourself as the expert, so that they come to you with the problems, and that you're more consultative in your approach. Mm-hmm. And part of that is who you align with. So if we talk about influencers, we talk about influencers of every marketer. They've got people that they use to influence and help spread the message that are not the employees there. Talk about the influencers that you may use in your marketing efforts or for your customers, and how you engage an influencer network for anyone.
I guess that really varies based on the client, right? I mean, every client is in a different, even though I work mostly with tech companies, their product does something different and they're going to have different influencers. Some of the times I'm not involved on that level of actually, once I've written the content, then marketing it and getting it shared. But for my own project that I'm working on, the book that I'm writing, I'm definitely paying attention to, Neil Patel, who I'm sure you're very familiar with. He writes Kiss Metrics and some of the other major marketing blogs. And looking at what people who are expert in the industry are writing and starting to comment and to really get engaged with them to create an awareness around that shared interest.
Anything you're doing for engaging like a blogger network?
I recently found somebody, I don't want to say I found him, but he kind of just ran across with good marketing. His name is Noah, but I can't think of not this Noah. It's another Noah. I think it's called OK Dork. Anybody heard of OKDork.com? He was the marketer behind Mint, okay, and he grew their email marketing list to like hundreds of thousands of people before it launched. So the day the app launched, like they had like one of the highest number of downloads ever. And so he's somebody that comes in my email a lot, and I just really love his style. He also has this thing called, it's for entrepreneurs. It's like how to make your first $1 or something like that. And I'd already made my first $1, but I was like, the marketing was so well. I was just so compelled to do it. So I paid the money to do the program and learned a lot from him, and so I think that there is something to say to, you just don't have it all. You don't know it all. And, to definitely kind of dabble in what other people are doing, but don't let that taint the creativity that you have. And be original. Just be inspired. Don't be a copycat.
I get a lot of legs out of knowing what Google's plans are. Like, I get a ton of legs out of that. I pay attention to, like, Barry Schwartz, Search Engine Land. He's one of the big search guys. Rand Fishkin and John Mueller, who's like the kind of head of Google search right now. These guys all do like weekly webinars and podcasts and stuff. So I tune in. So I know what's going to happen tomorrow, which is going to be a mess. All the mobile stuff happens tomorrow. Google's going to start re-ranking everybody based on mobile, and I find that really gives me a lot of credibility, just being in the know. Knowing that there hasn't really been much updates since last year, and knowing what they're going to do tomorrow, and really what the implications will be, and being able to explain it the way people know. If I start citing the influencers that I pay attention to, people just zone out. And my sales pitch, I call it the avalanche. I just come at you with everything, and then you go, you just take care of it. And I get a lot of the stuff that I'm throwing at people from those influencers that I'm kind of keyed into on a regular basis.
So not only does it increase your credibility, but it also increases your revenue stream tomorrow. Because there's going to be a lot of
everybody needs. If you don't have a mobile responsive website, you need one now, as of tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well, not by tomorrow, but.
Yeah. So we haven't published Gregory's thing yet, but in terms of Gregory's network of influencers, yours was probably the best response in terms of the vastness of your influential regime. It was pretty amazing to hear you talk about the influencer network.
Yeah, because I think we all are slightly different in terms of marketing. So it's like we're all marketers, but we deal with different targets. So we all use influencers, but in a different way. But like when Matt would probably leverage a website he designed, and that in itself is an influencer. So if he had designed this, like i.e. 100state's website he designed, so he would leverage 100state to ultimately get other clients. So it's just how we use it is all just different.
Yeah. Let's go to marketing trends. What marketing trends are you paying attention to? There's a lot of trending activity in certain subjects. Are there any trends?
Yeah, so I'm going to go with video because, we've talked about it a lot already, but what I'll add to that is, in addition to video in general being very prominent, I have noticed a lot of companies coming out making videos that are designed to empower women. I like the idea of empowering women. I want us to, that's obviously great. But one of the things that I always am aware of is is how much are they doing this out of authenticity, and how much are they doing this because they know if they create a video about women being strong, they're going to get shares and they're going to get sales. When I think it's the latter, it really annoys me, but I definitely see that as a trend that people are leveraging and is being pretty effective. I mean, some of those Pantene ads that are, and Tampax ads about empowering women are getting millions and millions of shares. So people know it's a trend to capitalize on, and they're going with it.
Okay. Any other trends?
For me, I think it might be social media marketing and product placement. I see a lot of, what I'm starting to see grow is like a lot of influencers are getting these products to endorse because like you're going to trust the influencer before you trust the company. And so I think it's so strategic to do that because you're connected to this person in that you either have a similar lifestyle or you want to achieve that lifestyle.
Aspirations.
Versus, your aspirations, and they're drinking a Coca-Cola and it's like, oh my God, I want to drink a Coca-Cola just like her. Or are you going to react to this, a Coca-Cola magazine ad the same way? You're probably not. So I think social media and product placement is actually a pretty cool thing. And there's, definitely with Instagram and something called Like It to Know It or something like that. I don't know if anybody's familiar. Where now there's bloggers who are like assembling these fashion outfits or products and you could like their image, go to Like It to Know It and find where they got all these products from. And, in the millennials, we're social media people. And I heard somebody say the other day, like, to us, if it's not on social media, it doesn't exist. So, I think that that's an effective way instead of trying to put all these efforts into growing your social media, use who already has a social media backing and start doing, product placement, things like that.
Okay. Trends, Matt?
I actually agree with both those. I think the video thing is big. I think streaming video, like live streaming video, this is the year for it. Like Meerkat's like a new thing, a new app out. And I think increased bandwidth, we're able to do it more. So I think that as a result of more of that, you're going to see more personal branding. I think we'll start to see a replacement of some of the credible news people and those celebrities. I think we're probably going to start to shift more towards kind of home bloggers that have just gained a big audience. And I think that also like Taylar was saying, the curated stores are big right now. Where you've got people that are like, here's the awesome stuff I like, and you can buy it through my site, rather than just having everything for sale on Amazon. It's like I've just got some really awesome stuff on my site. Just this kind of stuff for women or for guys, or really kind of niche branding. This whole streaming thing is just blowing up like crazy. The live streaming stuff. I think this is the year for it.
I'm going to add podcasts to that. Podcasts have been around longer than the live streaming, but I see more and more people turning to podcasts to build the audience, and they may not be directly marketing the product in the podcast, but they're getting that audience who at the end of it, they get the little product placement in there, and they have the engagement, they have the dedicated following and respect.
Okay, good. Any questions? All right, let's go with last question for all three of you. Let's talk about money, spending. So if you have an extra $100,000 or $50,000 to work on your project, how do you spend that? Where are you going to spend it first? It's a question about your priorities and how you're going to invest in your marketing.
Well, wait, is it for marketing myself or marketing for my clients? Because if it's for my clients...
Give me both.
For myself, I would like to hire... Actually, it's related. I want to have somebody who can provide the graphics and the video and make it awesome. Because I can provide the content for both, the written content for both myself and my clients. But if I want to bring a full suite of services, which I think would be awesome, it would be to have somebody who can help me out on those two fronts. Between the video and the graphics, so you get just an amazing package right out of the gate.
So you're hiring a graphic designer or a videographer?
Not hiring per se, but contracting with, to have people who I regularly turn to work on projects.
Okay. So project-based contractor, as they come up, you're going to contract them?
Yep.
Okay. All right.
I would say for my services, I'd be right behind you. I'd be doing some hiring or some contracting as well. Because it's very difficult to supply what people need, and you're the only person doing it. So I definitely think that I would need more people who do what I do and can add to what I do. But if it was Maverick Hill, it'd be totally different. I would definitely invest in some type of marketing that allows me to be in contact with my customers. So I just believe that face-to-face contact, the actual opportunity to touch, feel, see the product, the real thing, is probably the most lasting and effective marketing you could do. So if I had to invest for Maverick Hill, it would be something that's physical, something that can allow me to be in contact with my customers.
So is that like an event? Like some kind of travel and road show?
Yes, the latter. So in my my business plan, there is something that talks about a college tour. And so I would invest in that experience for my consumer.
Otherwise, you could start sending boxes to college groups that you've targeted as in your audience, and they would get that opportunity to have a free box.
Yeah,
Touch it, play with it, talk about it.
Absolutely.
That'd be fun.
Yes.
Matt?
I'd go with product development and an ad budget, both for myself and for just about any of my clients. I've got a few clients who are just totally dialed in. They've got awesome products. They're ready to go. So now just ad budget, and let's just keep test marketing at a small ad budget. And as soon as we find stuff that works, double down, and then just keep improving on what's working.
Ad budget as in placement of ads?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
creation of new ads?
Well, that's kind of they're tied in together. So you're
Okay.
constantly creating new ads, seeing which ones do better versus the old ads.
You
Consistent
put it in one
testing.
channel, you put it across many channels.
Bigger the budget, the more channels are possible. I certainly see certain campaigns that do really well with AdWords and not so well with Facebook. So we'll can Facebook, we'll do AdWords. The complete opposite can happen a lot of times too. So that's why it's about market testing. We start small, we prove the concept, and then we scale up to a bigger budget. And that makes it easier for my clients too. Because I'm not saying, let's put $10,000 a year into advertising. I'm going to say let's start with $500 a month, see what we do with it, see what works, and then we'll start increasing it based on what has an extra return on investment.
Okay, very good. Any questions? All right, special thanks to our guest today for sharing some fabulous information. So thank you very much. And thank you for everyone attending. Appreciate that. So more food.
Good crowd, thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
More food,
That's
enjoy.
fun. All right.